Greetings of the day. In this session, we are going to learn about various disabilities that are predominantly seen in mainstream schools. But before that, let us know the criteria for anyone to be known as disabled or having special abilities. Firstly, one can see the deviations from the normal. They show different characteristics and might have difficulties in one or more of the developmental areas like the physical development, intellectual development, social and emotional development. These deviations in development may hamper their day-to-day functioning and activities of daily living, which are called ADLs. As they grow older, these special needs may affect their education and adulthood functions like employability, raising a family, being productive in the society. But before labeling, care should be taken to confirm the diagnosis with help of available standardized tools for assessments. As professionals, we should be aware of various disabilities commonly found in mainstream schools. First, let us talk about specific learning disabilities or SLD, its incidence being as high as 16.49% in the school going population. These difficulties in academic areas like reading, writing, spelling, comprehension, arithmetic. The commonly known types are dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. Next is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, which is found in 11.32% of children. As the name suggests, these children exhibit attention and concentration problems, hyperactivity, impulsivity, which affects their learning and productivity. Autism spectrum syndrome or ASD is found in 1 out of 58 individuals globally. This is a new scary situation and we are going to discuss more about this in detail in the coming session. Down syndrome is also a commonly found condition. As many as 1 out of 830 live births have Down syndrome. These individuals have peculiar physical and facial features. They are commonly known as Mongols, but they are loving, caring people and can function very well with support. The next common disability is cerebral palsy or CP, which is found in approximately 3 out of 1000 live births. It is a kind of motor disability which can vary from mild to severe dysfunction. On intellectual areas, they might range from mild disability to average or above average intellectual functioning. Another common disability that we should know is epilepsy, which is found in 1% of population, commonly known as fits. This is most casually taken disability, but actually it is a very serious condition where every fit or seizure attack adversely affects the brain. Medication under supervision of a neurologist can keep the fits or seizures under control. Special schools exist for other commonly found disabilities like vision impairment or blind, hearing impairment or deaf, motor disabilities and intellectual disabilities. Do you know that there is a Disability Act by the Government of India for the benefits of people with all kinds of disabilities? This act is known as the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act or RPWD of 2016, which has included 21 disabilities as against the previous version of this act, which was in 1995, which had only 7 disabilities under its purview. The highlights of the RPWD Act are 1. Free and compulsory education, support services, accessibility, several concessions in areas like income tax, travelling, 5% reservation in higher education, special equipment, employment and also help for setting up small scale business setups. Most important point to remember is to get a proper assessment and diagnosis done from a certified and licensed professional or from the government hospital. Another important thing you remember is getting a unique disability ID card or UDID, which is mandatory for getting all these concessions under the RPWD Act. The procedure for procuring this card is available on the Government of India website. We have to make the society aware of the RPWD Act and the benefits that these individuals with disabilities can get as per the government scheme. Now we are going to learn and get an overview about ASD or Autism Spectrum Disorder, as it is now called. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the 4th edition or DSM-4, which was published in 1994, the classification mentioned autism, Asperger's syndrome and pervasive developmental disorder or PDD separately. But according to DSM-5 published in 2013, all these conditions come under one umbrella term, now known as Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD. The DSM is used by healthcare professionals and it contains descriptions, symptoms and other criteria for diagnosing mental disorders. According to DSM-5, there are 3 important aspects for understanding the severity of ASD. These are social impairment, communication impairment and restricted interests. These symptoms must be present from early developmental period. Usually, developmental milestones are achieved on time, but the child starts regressing after 2.5 years, which is a cause for concern for the parents and the pediatrician. Now, let us see some specific characteristics of ASD or Autism Spectrum Syndrome. Inappropriate social behavior is one glaring characteristic. They fail to understand what is right and what is wrong in a social situation. They may have speech impairment. Sometimes they could be non-verbal. They may not be able to speak at all. Sometimes they fail to pick up language and therefore are unable to communicate. This affects their behavior, which can be seen as a tantrum or misbehavior. But the fact is that they are trying to communicate something to us. They are obsessed with routines. They like it when things are done in a particular way, in a particular sequence. They tend to be very rigid in their behavior and find it difficult to accept change. Consequently, they may become anxious or distressed by the change in routines. Some individuals with ASD do not give eye contact, but this is not evident in all individuals with ASD. Echolalia is another characteristic which is commonly found in persons with ASD. They may repeat what they hear without knowing the meaning or without answering the question. Like for example, if they are asked what is your name, they will say what is your name instead of telling their own name. Some individuals on ASD may have savant abilities or special talents. They may be good at some things even better than average individuals. For example, they may know all flags of all the countries or know how to solve big jigsaw puzzles very easily, or may be good at visual thinking or thinking in pictures, and some could be very good at calculations or in music, etc. Individuals on the spectrum may be above average or average on intellectual functioning, or they could be intellectually deficient also. They may have associated medical or genetic conditions. They could have other neurodevelopmental, psychological or behavioral disorders. They may exhibit catatonia or abnormal movement or behavior which can be repetitive and purposeless, like twirling a twig or flapping of hands, going round and round, etc. Now that we have learned about characteristics of autism spectrum disorder, can you name or identify any peculiarities or special features in these pictures? As a professional, many times we need to break the bitter news of some disability or debilitating psychological issue or the other. The way we disclose it is of utmost importance, and it has a long lasting effect. This in turn determines how the client's family will take the news and help the client. Therefore, each one of us should keep in mind a few pointers. If need be, getting training, doing internships and observing how the seniors handle such situations will be of great help. On personal level, to become a good counselor, we ourselves have to be positive, have a confidence and clarity about diagnosis. We should be warm and sympathetic. We should respect our client and their views. Patience is also very important because you may have to repeat things repeatedly or listen to the same thing over and over again. One needs to have good communication skills and be able to understand the verbal as well as non-verbal communication, as in gestures, posture, body language, to understand things that are not said. Also, understand your own shortcomings, emotional status and capability to handle a certain case. There is nothing wrong to refer a case to a colleague or a senior expert. Give your client an assurance that they can talk to you anytime, that you are available for discussion, and not to hesitate about asking questions. On professional level, remember that keeping it short and simple and direct is the best approach, rather than beating around the bush. Stating the facts based on assessments and observations is the best. Having empathy towards the parents or family, trying to understand what they are going through, their concerns, is very important. But also remember to draw a line between professional and personal. What I mean to say is, do not become subjective and get personally involved. Rather, be objective, thus helping your client to the best of your capabilities. Parents may or may not have questions in the beginning, but give them opportunity to talk about their concerns and questions as time goes by. Staying objective also has another advantage. The parents have to take control of the situation and decide what they want to do about the child's future. You are only the guide. Multidisciplinary assessment plays an important role in understanding and diagnosing the problem. Give references and convey the need of multidisciplinary assessments by specialists like occupational therapist, physiotherapist, speech and language therapist, special educator, psychologist and a pediatrician. Just conveying the diagnosis is not the end. In fact, it is the beginning of the journey for the child and the family. Make plans to monitor the child's progress together. Educate the family of various resources like schools, sheltered workshops, other opportunities for earning or employability, support groups, future planning, etc. Be assured that you are on the right path when you keep all these points in mind and act accordingly. To summarize, till now we saw the various kinds of disabilities we discussed a little bit about the RPWD Act. Then we saw in depth the autism spectrum disorder or ASD, and later on we also saw that how a professional should behave in counseling situations on personal basis as well as in the professional setup. In the next session, we are going to talk about academic underachievement and what are the various ways in which we can deal with it. I hope you enjoyed today's session and you got something from it.